And you can see my screen also.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So need and importance of human resource planning that we will be starting with. So first need and importance of human resource planning is to carry on its work and to achieve its objectives. So first need or importance of human resource planning is to carry on its work and to achieve its objective. So whatever work is being allotted to human resource department, they need to carry out that work and they have to see to it that they achieve their objectives. Now, if the organization has allotted them a job of that they need to recruit 40 people for the organization or in the organization, so they need to see to it that they select the best 40 people in the organization. Next one, human resource planning identifies gaps. Now here, the gaps we are talking about is the present manpower position and the desired manpower position. Yesterday, when we were discussing about the definition of human resource planning, there we had discussed that it is the present manpower situation. HRP is present manpower situation to planning for present manpower situation to desired manpower situation. So here in gaps also, what gap they should be aware of or they should be finding, that what is the present strength of employees in the organization and how many more employees are required to be employed in the organization in the near future. So that is HRP identifies gaps. Next one, there is need to replace employees. Now here, the organization has to see to it that those employees who are not performing well, who are being trained for say many times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, but still their performance is not increasing or it's not up to the mark which is set by the organization. So these employees are to be replaced by new, more competent employee. And that is the meaning of there is need to replace employees. It should not happen that once an employee has been recruited in the organization, that employee will remain in the organization for say 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, or will remain permanent. So that is the main difference. For example, if a person is recruited in government service, the moment he is recruited, the person becomes confident that now no one can remove him from this particular position or this particular service. Only thing which can be done is he can be transferred from one place to another. His promotions can be stopped, but he cannot be removed. So the person is very much sure whether he is working or not working, whether he is performing or not performing on the job. One thing for sure is that he is not going to be removed from the position. And that is one of the main reason why we see such type of say why we see that there is no or very less performing government employees, because no targets are there, no deadlines are there, or even if targets and deadlines are given to the government official, no serious action is taken against them when they miss the targets or deadlines. That means removal is very complicated of a government employee, and that is one of the reason why they are taking everything for granted and why they are not performing on their job. But the same facility is not available to the private employee Now, when an employee is working in an organization, although various laws are there which protects the employee, but there are options available. There are rules in the law itself that if after giving training again and again to an employee without any valid reason, if the employee is not performing, there are rules which for the organization that how they can remove this particular employee, that they are giving show cause notice for 3 times, still the employee is not performing, then the employee can be removed by the organization. Next one, HRP facilitates expansion and growth. Again, it is very simple. If the organization is going for expansion, that it wants to increase, the organization wants to increase itself, the organization wants to uh, uh, grow itself, then if more people are required, it is the human resource planning which help take care of that. HRP helpful in effective utilization of HR and technology. Again, it is self-explanatory. Human resource planning is helpful in effective utilization of HR and technology. Effective use of human resource and utilization is the responsibility of human resource planning. If planning is properly done, if recruitment is properly done, if training is properly given to the newly recruited employee, there are more chances that they will be more effective for the organization, they will be more productive for the organization. Next one, HRP is useful in anticipating cost of HR, which facilitates budgeting easier. Now, human resource planning is useful in anticipating cost of HR. Cost of HR means how much money is required in the entire recruitment and selection process of the people who will be recruited in the organization. Say 40 employees, new employees are to be recruited. So human resource planning, with the help of human resource planning, the organization will come to know that how much money will be spent on this entire process, which starts right from planning till the training of newly employees. And this will make the easier for the organization to prepare for budget, organizational budget. Next one, HRP facilitates career and succession planning. So we had already discussed what is career and succession planning, so we are not going to uh, discuss it again. Next one, HRP helps in planning for physical facilities like canteen, staff quarters, etc. So if 40 people are to be recruited, then they need to plan for their, if the organization is having uh, a provision, a facility that they will be providing subsidized lunch and dinner and breakfast to the employees, then they need to make provision of 40 more people, because these people will be adding to the organization. So this is the need and importance of human resource management, human resource planning. Now we move on to another simple topic, which is called as recruitment. We have already discussed what is recruitment. Again, we will have a quick look on what is recruitment, and then we will move forward. So recruitment, according to Edwin Filippo, recruitment is the process of searching for prospective employees and stimulating and encouraging them to apply for the job in an organization. So what Edwin Filippo says is, it's a process for searching of prospective employees. If the organization is having say 10 or 12 vacant position in the organization, and they want to fill these positions, so they have to recruit people. So recruitment is searching of prospective candidates. So this organization will start searching for prospective candidate. In for that, they may say release an advertisement on the uh, uh, on social media platforms or another electronic platforms or electronic portals, or they can place a ad in the newspaper, or they can put the advertisement on the entrance of the organization. So various methods are there to search for prospective candidates, and stimulating and encouraging them to apply for the job in an organization. So encouraging the prospective candidates to apply for the job means the advertisement should mention such condition which attracts the prospective employees. Such conditions means the salary should be attractive, the name of the company should be attractive in the sense that the company is, say, a good company which is having good name in the society. Now the moment we see that there are vacant position in Tata group of companies, in Tata Motors or in TCS or in some Tata group of companies controlled company, Tata group controlled companies, what is the first impression? Yes, it's a great company to work in. If I am eligible for that particular position, I should definitely apply for that particular position. So that is, that name itself attract the prospective candidate. Other things which attracts the prospective candidate is the salary to be paid, the incentives to be paid, the working conditions of the organization. So these are the things which attracts the employee. Next definition is given by CB Memoria. Recruiting is the discovering of potential applicants of for actual or anticipated organizational vacancies. Now it is discovering of potential applicants. Potential applicants means potential, the people who are having potential to be selected or to be employed in this particular organization for actual or anticipated organizational vacancy. Actual means actually the organization is having 10 vacancy and they have released the ad. Anticipated vacancy is that very soon the organization will be having 10-12 vacancies, and for that they are releasing the advertisement. So that is related to recruitment. Now the strategic approach to recruitment. What is the meaning of strategic approach to the recruitment? Most of this we had already discussed when we were discussing in first chapter, strategic human resource management. So we will have a quick look for this. So first one, identifying the real recruitment needs of the organization and fulfilling those needs. Strategic approach to recruitment means, first point, very important, identifying the real recruitment needs of the organization and fulfilling those needs. Real needs. Real needs means if 8 vacancies are there in the organization, then the organization should recruit only 8 people in the organization. It should not happen that organization is recruiting 9 people, 10 people or more people in the organization with a thought that if anyone or any two people, newly recruited employees, they leave the organization, still they will be having 8 to 10 people who can work in the organization effectively. So when we talk about strategic approach, we need to recruit only the people who are who are essential for those particular positions. Now, for example, earlier, when say 10-12 years back, when IT industry, or in particular, we will say the BPO and KPO industry was coming to the country, many large scale organizations such as TCS, Infosys, Satyam, then Wipro, then Nihil Technologies. So all these large scale or very big names in IT companies, they were involved in BPO and KPO type of jobs. Now, when these companies, foreign companies, they were outsourcing their jobs to the Indian companies, after say a period of 1 year, when there was a very tough competition between these 5-6 main companies, who all the companies were giants, and every company was trying to get the contracts from the foreign companies. Now, to get these contracts, one HR practice was being introduced by most of these companies, and that practice used to be called as bench strength. BENCH, bench strength. Now, bench strength means they used to anticipate, these companies used to anticipate that tomorrow, if we get a order from a particular company which is situated in foreign, then we should immediately be able to start working on that particular project. It should not happen that once we get the project from that multinational company, then we will be searching for potential candidates, then we will be recruiting them, then we will be training them, and then we will be starting with the work. So if such thing happens, it will delay the project, and that multinational company will not be satisfied with the performance of this particular company. So they used to recruit more people, that 50 are required. If 50 are required, they used to recruit 70 people or 80 people in the organization. They used to keep these extra people there in the organization without any work, because expecting that anytime they will be getting any other order from the multinational company, and the moment they get the order, immediately they will start working on that order. So that concept was called as bench strength. Nowadays, that concept is not in existence, because it is not feasible, it is not practical, and it is not practical also, or profitable also for the organization to recruit extra people with no work for a period of longer time. Now, no one is sure whether the contract will come to the organization or not, or when the contract will come to the organization or not. So for a period of say 10 days, 20 days, or months together, you cannot afford to recruit more people without any work. But in those times, as the profit margin was very huge, as only few large companies used to get all the orders from those multinational companies, there was no small player there. So profit margins were more, and that is why the companies could afford keeping people in their payroll without any work. But later on, when small companies also started competing with these large companies, and they also started, as their quotes were less, quotations, in the quotations they used to quote less profits or less amount, they started getting more contracts, and then the competition grew. Because of that competition, this particular concept called as bench strength, it started declining, and nowadays no company can afford and no company can think of also. So the first important strategic approach is identify the real recruitment needs. How many people are required, and you need to recruit those many people only. You cannot anticipate that if 10 are required, we should be recruiting 12, because it is anticipated that two are definitely going to leave the organization. If you are anticipating that two are definitely going to leave the organization, then why you are recruiting those two people in the organization? That is the first question which is to be asked under strategic human resource management. We cannot afford paying or investing extra in the recruitment process, in the training process, in the selection process, because it will be loss for the organization. So that is the first point. Second point is the organizational needs are tied to the overall strategic business plan. So need of the organization is always matching, is always tied, किससे बंधी हुई है वो? Organizational plan से. So need of the organization is always tied with the organizational plan. How much is needed? Only that much should be recruited. If more is recruited, then that organizational plan of making this much of profit this year will get adversely affected. Next one, the need are in terms of number, quality, specialized skills, and talents in every area. Now, when the person is to be recruited, why we are seeing that many organizations, when they are recruiting people, they are conducting 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds, or at sometimes around 10 rounds of interviews also. Because what has happened is, because the recruiter, the person who is in charge of recruiting, has to check the quality of the prospective candidate, the specialized skills which is expected to be there in the prospective employee, because then only he will be able to work better on the job. Whether that specialized skill is present in that employee or not, whether the employee is having right potential or talent in him or her or not. So when all these aspects are to be checked, it is not possible for the HR manager to find out all these aspects in one round of interview. That is why many organizations are making their recruiting more tougher than the earlier days. That is why they have come up with the idea that yes, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds will be there, so that they can filter the candidate, so that they can clearly screen the candidates. Next one, the organization's people need range from immediate, medium, and long-term needs. How many people are required in the short run, that means immediately. How many people will be required in the organization after 2-3 months, that is midterm, and how many people will be required in the organization next year or next to next year, that is long run. It is to be studied under strategic approach to recruitment. Next one. Recruiting and diversity considerations. Now, recruiting and diversity considerations means recruiting. We all know what is recruiting. What is diversity? Diversity means irrespective of caste, creed, gender, or color of the person should be selected only on the basis of talent, only on the basis of merit. That is called as diversity. Earlier, what used to happen, that preference used to be given to the people who were locals of that particular area. Preference used to be given to the male candidates in the for recruitment. Preference were given to a particular religion person when it came to recruitment. Now, when we are talking about diversity consideration, here only preference is given to talent, only preference is given to merit of the candidate. Now, whether the candidate is from one particular religion or he is from another religion, it doesn't matter. Whether the candidate is male or female doesn't matter. Whether the candidate is from this particular caste or that particular caste doesn't matter. Whether the candidate is a local candidate or is a candidate who has come from some another part of the country, it doesn't matter. What matters nowadays is that whether the candidate is having potential and talent in him or her or not. So that we will be discussing under diversity considerations. Next, first one, develop long-term relationship with the community leaders of group you will be recruiting. Now, to get good talented people, the first thing the company should be doing is that company should create its brand image in the minds of the community which is residing near the organization. If the brand image is there, as we had taken the example of Tata's or say Wipros or Infosys, so these are the companies which have created brands. How they have created brands? Not only with the quality, but with their CSR activities, corporate social responsibility activities. We often come across that Tata or these large scale companies have given, say, they have constructed a school, they have donated computers in the school, or furniture they have donated in the school, or they have constructed say a primary health center in a village, or they have constructed roads in the remote villages. So under CSR activities, if a company is doing such thing, with the help of this, the company is investing in creating brand for the organization. Now, all the locals which are residing there, they will feel that yes, the company is a good company, because apart from earning profit, they are giving it back to the society also. So among that locality, in that particular community, if talented people are available, the moment they will see advertisement of that particular company, they will get attracted towards that particular company and they will definitely try to apply for that particular company. So that is why the company should have good contacts or good relations with the local community leaders. Next one, Analyze the current organizational culture. Does it welcome diversity? So organizational culture should always welcome diversity. Now, how to welcome diversity and what is organizational culture? Organizational culture is nothing but, if see to it that if the people who are working in the organization, whether they are enjoying this working with each other or not, whether they are forming informal groups or not, whether they are going in groups and have enjoying themselves or not, after work, within work, whether everything, whatever they are doing, if they are enjoying, the organizational culture is good. Now, what is the second point is expecting is whether the organization is welcoming diversity or not. Now, how to welcome the diversity, or when we can say that yes, the organization is welcoming diversity? Now, we will assume that 90% of the people who are working in the organization are from one particular religion, whereas 10 newly joined are from another religion. If these people start developing bond among themselves, and they, after a period of say 5 days, 10 days, 1 month, if they start enjoying their work, because religion is another thing and working happily in the organization is another thing. It's whenever we are working in an organization, always, please remember, always it's a teamwork. You single-handedly cannot do each and every task of the organization. For completion of your task also, you are dependent on another person. So if all the people in the organization, they start working in working as a family, they start living in the organization, they start working in the organization as if they are a large family, they start enjoying the work, then we can say that yes, they welcome diversity. All the people are from say they are a particular area or particular state, so their local language is a particular language. Now 2-3 people who are newly joined in the organization, who are newly recruited in the organization, they speak some other language, so they are not comfortable with the local language. Now if this large group of people who are locals, if they welcome them, if they try to teach them their local language and try to learn their language, then automatically we can say that the organizational culture is such that it welcomes diversity. So that is diverse culture. Next one, identify and remove obstacles in selection process. So if there are any obstacles, if there are any hurdles, if there are any problems in the selection process, which is, with selection process, we are talking about selection process or for diversity. We should not restrict ourselves to a particular gender. We should not restrict ourselves to a particular religion. We should not restrict ourselves to a particular caste. We should not restrict ourselves to a particular, say, creed or race or color of skin. So what we are talking about here is that if the existing policy of the organization is that we will be recruiting people mostly from this gender only, if this is the policy of the organization, now that policy will be called as hurdle or obstacle in the selection process. So this policy is to be changed, that whether a person is a male or female, If the person is talented or having potential, that person should be given a job. But that job, it should not happen that only because of that gender the person has got the job. The person got the job only on the basis of his merit or his talent. So that is what is expected. So that type of obstacle are to be removed. Next one, ensure performance appraisal reward desired behavior, discipline and accountability. So performance appraisal, we have already discussed that it is evaluation of performance of the employee, and on that basis the employees are rewarded, are given incentives, and some of the employees who are not performing well, they are not rewarded, and sometimes harsh decisions can be taken against these employees and they can be demoted also. So no partiality should be there when it comes to performance evaluation or performance appraisal. Next one, establishing a mentoring program. Mentoring program, now we all are aware of what is a mentor and what is a mentee, because we are having a scheme called as mentor mentee. So we are all aware of that students are allotted a mentor. So if the students are having any problem, they can directly be in touch of their mentor, and it is the responsibility of mentor to clear that problem or clear those doubts from the mind of the student. So that is the concept of mentor mentee. Same is the concept being implemented in many organizations. Now mentor is given to a group of employee. If they are having any problem, be it personal, be it professional, they are free to contact their mentor, and it is the responsibility of the mentor to solve that problem. If the mentor mentee scheme goes in a right direction, that means mentees are comfortable in sharing their problems with the mentor, and mentor is, say, promptly trying to solve those problems or solve those issues, then we can say that everything will be moving in a good direction, in the right direction for the organization, and the organization will definitely be moving towards the right direction to achieve the targets set by the top management. Next one, provide ongoing human relations training for the organizational members. Human relations training. Now it is essential nowadays for each and every person of the organization, the marketing manager, the operations manager, or the people who are working in finance department. They cannot say that as they are not associated with human resource management department, they are not supposed to undergo this particular training, or this particular human relations training is not meant for them. So it is for each and every one, because every person who is working in the organization is regarded as human resource. So everyone should be aware of the importance of human relationship. Everyone should give respect to each other. The top most positions of the organization should respect the lower level employees also. They should treat them with dignity. So it should not happen that the senior manager who is working there at the say senior position, he is say abusing the people who are working under him, or he is not talking in a right manner to these people. So this should not happen in the organization, because this will create a difference between the people in the organization. So what is expected is that everyone should be given a training of human relations. We are there in the organization for one particular objective. And what is that objective? That we want to grow this organization to the highest level. We want to make this organization more profitable, and in return the organization will take care of our benefits. So that should be the motto. Next one, develop organizational reward recognition systems for supporting diversity. Reward recognition systems that we had already discussed when we were discussing HR practices, or the recent HR practices which are being implemented in various multinational organizations to attract and to retain people in the organization. So reward and recognition system means those who are performing well in the organization, they should be rewarded. Not only rewarded, but their efforts should be recognized among the other staff of the organization. So in front of all the employees of the organization, this good performers should, their effort should be recognized by the organization. So this is what we need to discuss under recruiting and diversity considerations. Now we will move on to steps involved in recruitment and selection process. So the recruitment and selection process is a series of hurdles aimed at selecting the best candidate for the job. So what is mentioned here is that series of hurdles are placed before the prospective candidate, and the candidate who is able to clear all these hurdles, all these obstacles, that candidate will be recruited in the organization. Other candidates will not be. Sorry. So it starts with the recruitment and selection process we are talking about. It starts with the first thing is employment planning and forecasting. We have just discussed what is human resource planning. So first it starts with the employment planning and forecasting, that after 2 months we will be requiring these many people, after 6 months we will be requiring these many people, after 1 year or 2 years we will be requiring these many people, and that is the job of human resource planning. Next, first point, it starts with employment planning and forecasting that we have just discussed. Then it starts, then it goes to recruiting, build a pool of candidates. Now the second one is the recruitment process starts with what? Starts with publishing of advertisement in newspaper, or nowadays various job portals are there. So the advertisement can be released on those job portals such as naukri.com or myfirstnaukri.com, or various other portals are there where the advertisement for the prospective candidates can be posted on these electronic portals also. So that is recruiting, build a pool of candidates, and then once the candidates, the prospective candidate comes to know that this particular organization is having vacancy in it, then they start applying to the applying to that particular position. And then it starts what? Applicants complete the application form. They fill up the application form and submit it to the organization. Next one, use selection tools like tests to screen out the most applicants. Now 10 vacancies are there, 100 candidates have applied. All the candidates are eligible with the help of scrutiny, prime scrutiny, first scrutiny. All the applications which were not meeting with the criteria, they were rejected, and still 100 applications have been selected. vacancies are only 10. So the second stage is use selection tools like tests to screen out the most applicants. Now tests can be introduced, or test can be conducted to reduce the number of candidates. Now many BPO companies, many KPO companies, they are conducting a test which is called as the common aptitude tests. They are conducting certain aptitude tests, and with the help of the aptitude test, they try to screen the candidates, or they try to screen the right candidates. That now here also, if we say that 100 candidates are present, then they will be conducting, the company can conduct a test which can be say aptitude test, and with the help of that, the number of this 100 can be reduced, that 40 candidates were able to clear the test with good marks. Say out of 50, those who will be scoring more than 30 marks or 35 marks, they will be considered as pass, the remaining will be considered as fail. So use that is under use selection tools like test to screen out the application. Next one, supervisors and other interview final candidate to be to make final choice. Then various type of interviews can be conducted. First can be a HR round interview, then there can be the department head under which the person will be working. That department head will be conducting interview. Next interview can be conducted commonly by the department people, senior official of the organization plus HR person. And after that, once all the interviews are done, then the candidate is finally selected by the organization. So this is the steps in recruitment and selection process. Now, sources of recruitment, there are internal sources, there are external sources. So we will be taking up the internal sources for recruitment. First one is promotion. Promotion is very simple. When a person is promoted to the higher position, that is called as promotion. Now, the executive was working in the organization, he was performing well on the job, so the organization decided that from the position of executive, now he will be shifted to the position of assistant manager in the organization. So the person is promoted to the position of assistant manager. So there will be a vacancy of executive in the organization. That vacancy has occurred because of promotion. That is why it is one of the internal source of recruitment. Next one, transfers. If a person is transferred from one organization to another organization, or if a person is transferred from one department to another department, then it is also called as internal source of recruitment. Next one, employee referral. Now all the students who are working, they all know what is the meaning of employee referral. Employee referral is that if the organization is having a vacancy in the organization, this information is shared with the existing staff, so that if the existing staff is having any, say, friend, relative, or known one who fits into that particular vacant position, he or she can refer that person for that particular job. And for that, incentives, certain companies are there which are providing incentives also. So that is called as employee referral. Again, it is one of the internal sources of recruitment. Next one, former employees. Former employees means the employees who have left the organization or who are retired from the organization. They can be given an extension of, say, 1 year or 2 year, and that is again a internal source of recruitment. Last one, previous applicants. Previous applicants means already the company last year or 6 months back, when recruitment was there in the organization, the company shortlisted only 10 people were to be recruited, but there were 12 very good candidates. So it was very difficult for the company to decide upon the 10 best candidate. So two which remained out because of less vacancy available in the organization, they were shortlisted and their applications were saved by the organization, that in future, if there is a vacancy, we will definitely contact you. So these people are called as previous applicants. Now these people can be contacted at the time of recruitment or prospective recruitment in the organization. So these are the sources of recruitment, which are internal sources. The external sources we will be discussing tomorrow, as only 5 minutes are remaining. So we will stop here, and tomorrow again we will meet at the same time, that is 6 a.m. Thank you all for joining today's session. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.